What's happening, everybody? Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com, coming to you Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern to discuss the silly season, also known as the coaching carousel, which, even though we are still 5 days ahead of the regular season finale, finales for everybody not named Army Navy. We we got a lot going on. Yesterday, Dan Mullen. Oh man, it went south in a hurry. And the knockout blow was delivered by Missouri in overtime in Columbia on Saturday night. 24-23 win for Eli Drinkwitz, but people call him Drink. Missouri squad, they win 24-23 as a 9-point underdog. Missouri on the money line and plus the points. One of my favorite picks of the week, other than Boston College, which was a tough L. But had a good week. All my Vegas Insider plays, I was 4-2, but with a plus 280 money line being one of the winners. Then I personally had South Carolina on Saturday night, so I had a good week finally. Anyhow, let's talk the silly season. So Mullen is out. The Gators host FSU. Both teams trying to get bowl eligible. So right now, 3 of the top 10 jobs in America, without question, LSU, Florida, and USC are open. And I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of other not great jobs, but Washington, Virginia Tech, and TCU are pretty darn good. And with, Oklahoma and Texas leaving the Big 12, I think that makes TCU an even more attractive job, just because the degree of difficulty in the Big 12 has gone down, or will go down. And I'm pretty sure Oklahoma and Texas will be into the SEC next year. I know there's a lot of paperwork and stuff to go on that, but I'm pretty sure that'll end up happening. And then another Power 5 job is open in Washington State, which is, not an easy job, but it's a Power 5 job. So, and then there's a lot of jobs that might come open because somebody's got to fill those jobs. And, I don't, maybe somebody comes from the NFL for one of them or two, and maybe an assistant or two gets hired. But, I think most of those jobs are going to be filled by guys that are sitting head coaches at other schools right now. So with that in mind, we have the possibility of some other quality jobs. Penn State, for instance, if James Franklin, who, he might be in the mix for all those jobs, although his star maybe has fallen a touch, and I'm not saying he's a superstar, but he's mostly had top 10 recruiting classes at Penn State. He recruited at Vanderbilt at a never before seen. And I was just a huge James Franklin fan until that 4th and 6th play call in that Penn State game against Ohio State. I think it was 3 years ago, but he kind of lost me with that. That was just, But anyway, so other key quality jobs that could be opening. I think Ole Miss is going to open, and I'll get to that again in a minute. Look, I like Neil Brown, but West Virginia could open. Although that was a good win against Texas. That one might not open. But Miami, I think there's a pretty good chance that opens. I love my boy Dino, and I thought he had done enough, several weeks back, but these 2 blowout losses in a row. We'll see. I would think Jeff Collins is going to be out at Georgia Tech, and all the NCAA stuff at Arizona State. I don't know where they are on that, but certainly Herm, might get asked to retire, or we'll see. And Arizona State's a really good job. So we got a lot of stuff that's a lot of dominoes are gonna start to fall in about probably this time next week, or Monday through Thursday or Friday of next week. Bet Online has released odds on who will be the next head coach at the University of Florida. Billy Napier is the plus 350 favorite. My choice, and for those unfamiliar, I am a alum of UF, and been going to the swamp a lot since 1981, and just have 4 decades and 3 generations in my family of Gator greatness. So that's who I want. I want Lane Kiffin. I've come around on him the last 4 or 5 years, and he's a really good recruiter. I'm not a huge fan of some of his analytics, like in the Alabama game this year. And I know some of it was after they were trailing 14-0, or maybe even 21-0 on one of the occasions. But if I'm remembering right, and I wasn't solely watching that game, I was going back and forth with some other ones. But I think in the first half alone at Alabama, he went for it on 4th down, and I know not the one at like midfield that they got when it was like 4th and 2 or 3. I'm talking about when they were in field goal range to kick like a 35 to 45 yard field goal. And I'm okay with going for it on 4th and 1, or maybe even 2 or 3, especially when you're going against Alabama at Alabama and you're down. But he could have had field goals, I'm pretty sure, on 3 different occasions in that first half against Alabama. And he went for it not on 4th and 4 or even 5 or fewer. He was going for it on like 4th and 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9 one time, when you have a high probability of getting a field goal there. And I think on the halftime interview when he was going, he goes, "Live by analytics, die by them." You can pick your spots when to be aggressive with your analytics. So I don't know that I'm a big fan of that, but everything else I like about Lane Kiffin. And let's remember, when he got those jobs, like the Raiders and Tennessee and USC, he was super duper young. And we all mature as we get older, and he's matured a ton. And the reality is, he never should have been getting those jobs at that young age. And so a lot of the, whatever bad you may think of Lane, all that was like a decade ago, and maybe even a decade ago and changed for the most part. But okay, he rehabbed his whole program under Saban. 3 great years as OC. 3 great years at FAU. 2 11-win seasons. 2 Conference USA championships. And he's been spectacular at Ole Miss so far in just 2 short seasons. Now, will he leave Ole Miss? Look, Ole Miss isn't broke, okay? I have no doubt that if LSU and/or Florida come after him, that Ole Miss will do everything in its power to match whatever offer LSU and Florida may be coming with. But I don't know if Auburn reached out to him last year or not, but he had already pulled that one and done at Tennessee, and I didn't think he should go anywhere last year. And look, I understand. He probably shouldn't go anywhere this year either. But, at the end of the day, you get down to it, and let's also remember, he's got a big-time quarterback these last 2 years in Matt Corral. And he announced, I want to say it was last Wednesday, that he's going pro. And, it might be time to leave because you don't have that. Because the other, Corral's been banged up a lot this year. And, we've seen a little bit of the backup. He ain't that good. And I haven't looked at his recruiting class he's got coming in. I'm sure he's probably got a 4-star quarterback in the fold. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, the reality is, are you going to win a national championship at Ole Miss? I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but the degree of difficulty is astronomically higher than it is at LSU or Florida. And I personally think he would choose Florida over LSU. Maybe that's my bias, being a Florida alum and all that. But look, I mean, he married. I know they're divorced now, but he married a Gator. Monty was in Tampa for more than a decade, right? I mean, I felt like he was in DC for like 15 years or so. So I mean, he's got some Florida roots. Obviously, he was at FAU recently for 3 years. I think he would choose Florida over LSU. So at the end of the day, look, I love loyalty. I love loyalty. I mean, I love I wouldn't love it because it's my team. But, if Florida had a better year this year and Mullen didn't get fired and LSU offered Kiffin the job and he said, no, thanks, I'm staying at Ole Miss, I would like that. I would say that, man, that's awesome of him. But this is my Gators. And I say he'd be a fool to turn us down. And I don't think he will. And I hope and I think he will be our number one target. But anyway, back to the odds from betonline.ag. Napier, Billy Napier, the plus 350 favorite. Lane Train, plus 500. Cristobal, plus 550. Bobby Stoopsy. And we'll hit on him here in a second. Mark Stoops, plus 800, along with Bobby at plus 800 or 8-1. James Franklin, 8-1. Fickle, 9-1. Matt Campbell from Iowa State, 12-1. Eric sleeping with, shout out Chris Berman. Eric sleeping with Bieniemy, 12-1. He is the OC for the Kansas City Chiefs. Dan Quinn, 16-1. Former Falcons head coach, Dallas Cowgirls defensive coordinator at the moment. He was Florida's defensive coordinator in 2011 or 12, I think 11, under Muschamp for 1 year and did a hell of a job. And then he went to the Seahawks where he was the DC when they won a Super Bowl, got to another one before getting the Falcons gig. And I'll talk on him and maybe a little Kellen Moore here in a minute. Bill O'Brien, former head coach at Penn State, former head coach and GM of the Houston Texans. Current Alabama OC, 16-1. Dave Clawson, Wake Forest, 16-1. Sometimes they just put some stupid ass candidates in here. Deion Sanders, 25-1. What? Flipping Knoll, man. Are you kidding me? Jamie Chadwell, Coastal Carolina, 25-1. Urban Meyer, 50-1. Oscar Lyers, what I meant to say, 50-1. I will burn my Gator card on the spot if we were to get his punk ass. Timmy Touchdowns, Tebow, 100-1. Okay, let's go. So look, Billy Napier's a hell of a. He's got a fantastic resume. Been an assistant in the SEC. He's worked under Saban. He's done a fabulous job at UL Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns. They have won 10 in a row? Yeah, 10 in a row since the loss at Texas. They went up to Liberty. That was one of my winners this past weekend. I had a cute little money line parlay with Mizzou, and the Raging Cajuns. Didn't put enough on it though. Darn it! I was just doing it for giggles. 20 to win 160. Throw 100 on that. Hey, what am I doing? But Napier's not. He's not Battleship material, and I say Battleship because at Spurrier's resignation, presser a few days after he announced he was resigning and taking his ball plays to the NFL, he said, I don't know if it was the first thing he said in the press conference, but very early in it, he's like, "Yep, we need Jeremy Foley's gonna have to go find a new captain to this great big old battleship we call Gator Football." So I sometimes refer to it as the battleship. I don't think Napier is Battleship material. I think he's an outstanding, Sun Belt coach, and he's definitely ready for a Power 5 gig. I just have bet on and watched way too many of his games because they get a lot of midweek games on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, you know, during the regular season. And I've watched a lot of his games, and I've seen him make some egregious clock management mistakes, and I just have no tolerance for that. None, zilch. I mean, you get paid millions of dollars, and you don't know what to do clock management wise, when to use timeouts, when you tell your quarterback to spike the ball. I mean, all that stuff. I mean, it's kindergarten stuff, and to not have a grasp of it is just. I'm not saying he's Les Miles bad. I'm not saying that, but he's not good at it, and I don't like that. And they have played down to their competition a lot. Many games this year. I mean, they've had a lot of nail biters when they were like 18, 20-point favorites. At Arkansas State comes to mind. I don't want to look it up right now. Trust me on it. They've had a lot of games that were very, very close. South Alabama, I think they won by 2, and they were favored by, I want to say, more than 2 touchdowns. But anyway, all right. So I've already told you Kiffin's my guy. And on that note, I mean, Kiffin would get a great staff regardless. But I think Coach O is probably, I mean, with that buyout, I mean, I would probably just chill. I mean, I wouldn't even get a TV gig. Although I think Coach O would be pretty good on TV. But if he just wants to get back into coaching, and I don't know how the buyout works. Like, if he gets another head coaching job, does LSU have to pay him less? I'm not really sure on all that. But I'd just chill, at least for 1 year if I was him. But, go do like that football. So, look, maybe he wants back or to stay in the game. And if he doesn't get one of these head coaching jobs, he was with Lane Kiffin at Tennessee. He was with Lane Kiffin at USC. They're boys. And if Coach O wants to come, if he wants to come down to Gainesville, be our D-line coach and our recruiting coordinator, and help us recruit in Louisiana and all over, I'm down for it. So anyway, that was just a quick thought on Kiffin. All right, Cristobal. Look, Cristobal is a good coach. He is a Cane. He is from Miami. He, has lived, really until he got fired by FIU, which was what a moron move that was by FIU. But, he might have lived his entire life in South Florida. Other than that, I don't know that for sure. But, he was an assistant for the Canes for a long time. And I'm not looking at his bio because, I know it for the most part. He was, I want to say he was assistant for the Canes for more than a decade. Then he got the FIU job. I mean, he was there about a decade. And, then he went to Alabama, was recruiting coordinator for Sabes. Then, I think he went to, did he go to Oregon as Taggart's defensive coordinator? I think so. When Taggart did one and done and went to the semis, he got the gig. And he's doing well at Oregon, this past weekend being an obvious exception to that as they got spanked. But look, at the end of the day, he's a Cane. And we don't do Canes. And, I was okay with us doing Muschamp, who was a Georgia guy, played there. But Muschamp grew up in Gainesville. So he had Gainesville roots. And he had been a Gator as a kid. I mean, his opening presser, he's talking about Tony Lilly and all his childhood heroes are all Gators. So I was okay with Muschamp. But look, in general, Florida does not need to be hiring a Georgia Bulldog, an FSU Noel, or a Miami Hurricane on principalities alone. So I don't want Cristobal. I'm not saying I'll be pissed if we get him, because I guess, looking at this list that I just reeled off, I guess he probably would be my 3rd or 4th choice on this list. So let's get to Bobby Stoops. He's 61. He was Florida's defensive coordinator in 96 to 98, won a national title in 96. He was there, he enjoyed his time at Florida. And now it might be of note that he has turned Florida down twice. But that was Jeremy Foley, and I wanted to hit on him. I don't know if I'm gonna have time. God Lord, we're already 20 minutes into this. But Stoops, look, he would probably be my second choice. I mean, I think there's gas left in that tank. I mean, he's been out of the game. What is this, Lincoln Riley's 4th year? And he was going to do that XFL thing, but then the pandemic 86 that. So I think there's gas left in that tank. And if you're going to come back where you're familiar, where you have a beach house an hour and 15 minutes away in Crescent Beach, right down the street from Spurrier's. Come on, Stoopsy. He would be my second choice right now behind Kiffin. Mark Stoops, no thank you. James Franklin, no thank you. Although there's worse on this list. I wouldn't be livid if we got James Franklin. He was wildly successful at Vanderbilt. I mean, he went to a bowl game 3 years in a row. He was getting 4-star recruits. They had I remember talking about this. I think they had 2 4-star recruits in program history, and both never played it down for Vanderbilt. One was the guy that got falsely convicted of that rape in Georgia, and it was like a national story. Marcus something, and he ended up playing in the NFL for a minute for the Cowboys and Jets. He did like 2 years in prison, and then he got out because they got it thrown out because he was they profiled it on Oprah and a bunch of what was his name, Marcus something. Anyway, and the other kid was tragically killed and murdered in Tampa Bay, or Tampa, I should say, before he ever got to Vanderbilt. And then Franco was getting like 4-star, like 4 stars of a recruiting class. It was insane, and had 2 9-win seasons at Vanderbilt. And then he's done, well, this year's kind of an exception, but I mean, he's been reeling in top 10 recruiting. Yeah, I wouldn't be pissed with James Franklin. Again, it's that 4th and 6th play against Ohio State that. All right, Fickle. Look, I would be fine with Fickle. Now, I'm not that familiar with his personality. I haven't watched a lot of his interviews and stuff, so but I know he can coach. I know he can recruit. He's got winning, proven experience. But I think he's going to the college football playoff. I mean, that's not a done deal by any means. And certainly they have a tough game with Houston. And, East Carolina's not a layup this week either. Not at all. East Carolina has been playing ball. I'm not even sure what their result was this past weekend. But anyhow, Matt Campbell, I like him a lot. Like Napier, man. Not Battleship material, though. Bieniemy, now Kansas City's going to the playoffs. Now, so, I mean, same thing with Dan Quinn. And I was going to bring out Kellen Moore, one of the best quarterbacks in college football history, offensive guru for the Cowgirls. I'd be down with Kellen Moore, but the Cowboys are going to the playoffs. Well, how many have they lost in a row now? Just 2? Did they win? They lost to Denver. Oh yeah, they beat the hell out of my Falcons. They're going to the playoffs. So I mean, early signing day is now in December. So, I know Jerry Jones has got Quinn and Moore locked down. So I mean, that's into mid-January. Can't do that. And same with Fickle if they go to the playoff. I mean. Yeah, I mean, if since he makes the playoff, I don't think Fickle's in play for any of these jobs. Clausen, look, he's done a hell of a job at Wake. Not Battleship material. Bill O'Brien, you don't hire anybody ever that you are just not using common sense to realize he would jump for an NFL job anytime. Like you don't hire anybody, especially at a top 10 job like Florida. You don't hire somebody that if he has a modicum of success, he could potentially bolt to the NFL. Like when first time he gets an offer. You don't hire somebody like that. So he's out. Dion, give me a break. No, we don't hire Canes or Knowles. Chadwell, he's not Battleship ready. I mean, I like him. He's an up-and-comer. I like him. Oscar Lyer, don't even get me started on that. So that covers it right there. I was going to talk about the LSU and other jobs, but I just when I start talking the Gators, I just babble. So I just did so for 25 minutes. So we better wrap it up. Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com. I want the new coach of the Battleship to be Lane Kiffin. Over now.